Since I was in Catholic school, I was always fascinated with the idea of the 7 deadly sins. The question that drove me in circles was, who decided that these seemingly insignificant vices were the all-punishing cardinal sins? As most people know them, the infamous 7 deadly sins are pride, envy, gluttony, lust, anger, greed, and sloth. This idea of 7 set sins that precede any other wrongdoing made me want to know their origin. After much thought and research, I have come to look at the concept of the 7 deadly sins as an invention of culture and specifically can be defined through the conflict theory of Karl Marx. Many people believe that the 7 deadly sins were first mentioned in the Bible. However, I don't believe that these 7 sins were religiously based, but instead economically inspired. Karl Marx's conflict theory is rooted in the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat. Unfortunately, the bourgeoisie had most of the wealth and therefore controlled society. Consequently, the proletariat were helpless and given nothing to control over. However, the idea of overcoming certain human traits that were so natural but deemed as bad qualities would give them an upper hand, morally. And there develops the idea of the 7 deadly sins. The 7 basic concepts that humans are prone to do and act upon. If we look closely at each of the sins, they are no more than just human flaws that usually cannot be avoided because they are a natural instinct that comes biologically or psychologically. Pride is an excessive belief in oneself. Envy is a desire for other things. Gluttony is a desire to have or consume more than needed. Lust is the involuntary craving for pleasure. Anger is noted as someone who spurns love and opts for fury instead. Greed is a desire for material wealth or gain. And finally, sloth is the avoidance of work. Although there are much worse sins than these presented, it is believed that these sins are the root of all others, which explains why they are also named the cardinal or prime sins. If the proletariat can control or avoid these sins, then they would be wealthier than the bourgeoisie. Morally wealthy, that is, instead of monetarily. Evidently, the 7 deadly sins are no more than a way to boost one's self-esteem and demean those who cannot resist their own basic human desires. The 7 deadly sins are not morally based, but instead they are a product of our own culture.